OMG, baby, tell him.
Hey there, everyone. It's Justin. I'm here. It's powered by Backers. It's Ask the Experts. I've got a great guest today, Alex Rechichi. Get into a quick bio. Alex, thank you for joining me here on this episode. We've been doing this for about a week now, so we've had some pretty cool guests. We'll continue doing it for 21 days, but thank you for joining me.
For having me.
Awesome. So do a quick little, intro on Alex. So Alex, you started as the co-founder of Extreme Pita and Mucho Burrito.
That's right. Yeah.
Correct? Okay.
Yeah.
And you had at one point as many as 340 locations globally. And that was acquired by another organization in 2013. And you're currently the co-founder of Crave It Restaurant Group, which owns the Burgers Priest, via Cibo, which we just talked about offline, which I love, and Bangkok Brewery. And then you have, is it 36 total restaurants across Canada primarily, or?
Yeah, predominantly all in Ontario, and we're involved with another restaurant group as well that we're helping grow called Fresh Plant Powered, which is a very popular vegan restaurant concept in Toronto. They have one location in LA, but I've been in the food business for over 20 years, almost 25 years now. So
awesome, cool. Well, thank you for joining me and taking the time here. So we'll jump right into it. Tell us a little bit about your story. Like, give us the Coles Notes, quick version of where you came from, why you do what you do, what makes you tick.
Well, I started early on in the restaurant business, actually pretty much graduating out of university. I was 21 years old, was in sales and marketing, long story short, started a restaurant concept called Extreme Pita with a few partners, including my brother, and grew that to a second location and then started franchising it. My brother and I ended up buying out our partners, and we have another partner that joined us along the way named Sean Black. And we just kind of grew that through franchising. So learned a lot about franchising, franchise sales, grew that across Canada, the US. And then in 2006, as we were opening up restaurants in the US, we came across the Mexican concepts that were in the United States, and we launched, we brought the idea back here to Canada, launched Mucho Burrito Fresh Mexican Grill. In Mississauga was the very first location. So 1997, Extreme Pita. 2006, we launched Mucho Burrito, combined it all under a company called Extreme Brands, and we exited in 2013. Yeah.
Cool.
And then got 2 weeks later, my wife and I went to Italy. 2 weeks later, got right back
on the saddle there. That's awesome.
Right back in the saddle. So I guess the restaurant business and the food business is in my blood.
So I'm gonna I love that, the Extreme Pita. I've eaten it many times. You've sold it. So I loved Pita Pit, right? Yeah. And so I'm just going to ask you this question. What you just sort of gave, I think maybe what has inspired you. You said you brought the Mexican sort of thing from the US here. What inspired Extreme Pita? Sorry.
I think, at the time, so actually I went to Queen's University in Kingston, and there was a pita concept in Oshawa. Can't remember the name of it. And there was the Pita Pit actually opened up their very first location in Kingston, Ontario.
Right.
So after the bars, that's where we would.
That's why I'm saying I went to Brock in St. Catharines. So same idea, right?
So it was poutine, pizza, and I guess pizza at the time. And the sub category was actually just starting to blow up, and it was just, I just saw it as a healthier option, and kind of had that in the back of my mind.
I love it.
And then just kind of wanted to get into food. There's a lot behind it, certainly around the story, and just we came up with our own concept called Extreme Pita. And part of it was too, we were pitas were very ethnic at the time. Right. In 1997, a lot of people didn't even know what pita bread was. It was Mediterranean, Arabic, Middle Eastern.
I'm not joking, but I actually tell this story to people, and sort of it's more to my naiveness, I think, or my upbringing. I went to Brock in St. Catharines. I was in residence, and someone said, "Hey, let's go get a pita." And my response was, at age 19, this was actually in 1997. What's a pita? I had no concept of sort of what that was. Obviously, fast forward, 20 plus years, I'm, obviously far more aware of that. I've ventured outside of my, meat and potatoes from my parents, but
we couldn't even. I remember when we started the concept, we couldn't even find the bread. Like it was
Oh,
hard
right.
to find.
Okay.
It was actually, I was actually doing a sales call for the company I was working
Wow.
for. And I walked into one of the bakeries, one of the smaller, there wasn't a lot of them back then, that was making the pita bread. And that's how we kind of then launched. And then we became competitors of the Pita Pit. But yeah, that's how the story began. We started in Waterloo, they started in Kingston, and then we started opening up across the country. Yeah, we're kind of like, we were on one corner and their corner, and we kind of met in the middle, and then we started running into each other right across the country. And then they've so that's kind of that's the story behind Extreme Pita. So it's really kind of focused on more on the fillings, less on the bread.
Yeah. Oh, it's I mean, it's definitely a great option, and I think the idea of it being available in that, we just had that conversation about Via Cibo, right? Which I think is a really cool concept. It's sort of, it's fast food, but it's healthy. But Via Cibo, let's talk about Via Cibo and the newer concept around, I was saying to you off air, in a previous venture, I guess, it was very close to a Via Cibo, and I didn't realize there were multiple locations. But, my experience with it, it's amazing, Italian, fresh, relatively, inexpensive. You go in, it's, fast-ish, but there's still the seating and the ambiance of it being a, slightly more upscale environment, right? So I don't know, tell us a little bit about that and where that's going, I guess.
So we launched we launched Via Cibo. We started working on Via Cibo while we still owned Extreme Brands. It was in 2012. And I was kind of seeing a shift in the marketplace with restaurants. Once again, our travels, seeing what was happening in different markets in the US, Southern California. My brother and I, Mark, were traveling through Santa Monica looking at concepts, and we came across a concept called Tender Greens. And it's a very popular concept in the US. There's like 50 or 60 locations, but it was really progressive, very disruptive. You walk in, you order from a menu expert, or, I guess their greeter, and you saw all this food being made, and then you go to the cash, you pay, and they would put it all on trays. So we kind of saw that, and we're like, hey, this is food was amazing. It was chef focused, very fresh. Everything was very culinary. Like it was a very culinary forward experience. And we kind of looked at that and we said, why don't we do this with Italian? And the different thing is that, we wanted to make sure the food was still served quickly, but it was extremely authentic. It was prepared by, trained cooks and chefs. And the entire kitchen experience is open. So, as you go to the York Mills location, you see it all along. You see your food being made, and you get to the cash. They know everything about the menu, and you grab a seat wherever you like, and your food's brought out to you in 7-8 minutes. So it's really, not seeing where we are post COVID, 19, or where the world's going. It's kind of that model is actually, in many ways, it's positioned for stuff like that. We do a lot of off premise, and so it's about affordable authenticity. That's what the concept's about. And,
we could come up with a new word, fast-ish food.
No, we call it fast casual.
Oh, sorry, you said that earlier. Fast casual.
Right. That's a category that's kind of on fire. And even during the last recession, to be honest with you, the 2008, 2009, that's where that category evolved. So you're going to see iterations of restaurant concepts and service concepts evolve and morph into something new, and there'll be a name for it. But fast casual really started to take fold in that 2008, 2009.
I'm getting hungry. Right now. But let's talk about one more of sort of the existing Burgers Priest. I've tried the one on Queen sort of East. And there's one.
That was the very first one, the Beaches location.
Yeah, Beaches, and then the one sort of Queen West by Spadina, right?
Yes.
Spadina and
so
Queen.
Those were
Is it Queen and Spadina? Or?
Queen and Spadina. You're bang on.
I've been to both of those two. How many Burgers Priests are there?
So we
now?
currently have 21 locations. Toronto, predominantly Toronto. We've got 2 in Edmonton. We had, before this started, there was another 5 under development. That were opening. Waterloo, another one in Toronto. We were opening 2 in Ottawa. And plans to look at actually British Columbia as well. So it's all Via Cibo is half corporate and half franchise.
The
Burgers Priest is all corporate run.
All corporate run.
We run them all. It was started by a priest, hence the name the Burgers Priest.
Oh yeah, I didn't realize. I didn't know the backstory. That's
I'll give you a bit of a background on it. It's interesting. So while we owned Extreme Brands, same thing. My partner mentioned it to me. Hey, we should try this place in the Beaches on Queen East. And
that was kind of a rough neighborhood when you opened, right? Like it
was almost the perfect
through
storm.
some gentrification a bit, but
absolutely, there's a massive condo being built right where next door where we are. But it was sort of, it was off the beaten path.
Yeah.
It was a combination of, the foodie culture and people watching the Food Network, social media really starting to take hold and explode. And, it was one of these concepts where the food and the burger experience was just really everything was ground fresh.
It's really good. Yeah.
Really, really good. And people were lining up for 2 hours in this 300 to get into this 350 square foot location. So we got involved after, I think.
I've lined up a lot at the one at Queen and Spadina.
Yes.
Because I used to work, this is probably like, so you said like 2012, right? So it might've been like 2013 and around there. I remember lining up, it was fairly new, the one on Queen and Spadina there.
So it started in 2010. So we're coming up on our 10-year anniversary in June, actually. So that background started, a gentleman by the name of Shant Martirosian, who was a priest, started it. We kind of got involved with him, helped him grow the concept together. And then he exited about 2 years ago, and we've kind of taken on and been growing the concept through the Craver portfolio. And great concept. We have our own central kitchen. We still grind the beef fresh every single day. We use a high quality premium beef, and we really haven't changed how we do it. It's just now it's becoming a little bit more available, right?
Yeah. When you say central kitchen, so you ship it to all the locations in sort of the morning or the day of?
We are actually a provincially inspected facility that we set up. And we cut the fries. We make the option, which is the stuffed portobello mushroom there. It's an 8,000 square foot facility. We grind the beef starting at 5 in the morning, and by 9:30 it's being shipped out through our own trucks to all the locations. So we really want to maintain the supply chain and the quality of the product. And
I haven't had it in a few years, but I remember it being really good.
Yeah, it's in a classic American cheeseburger style, like cooked on a flat. I'm actually be making some here.
You're gonna go. Can we get everyone watching to take orders to your place there? Or?
We're launching a video. I'm gonna doing a video on how to make it. We're gonna do these kits for one. We're gonna do a special on these kits where people can buy them and they can actually make the burgers priest at home.
It's awesome. I read an article, but I was talking to somebody a while ago, and I read an article from Bill Gates as well about sort of the new norm. And, the whole concept of if you had a restaurant for the past, however many years, let's just say the past 10 years, Burgers Priest, you should have been building that audience around your food, around the experience, because now with this ability or inability to have them come to your location, you could put out a concept video of, hey, this is us cooking, XYZ or via Cibo, we're doing this, this, and this. We're going to put together 50 orders. First 50 get, at this price, and you could ship it out. And like the demand would be crazy right now. I know if you said, hey, we're putting 50 orders of this specific dish and we're shipping it out, or 500 or whatever that number is, I'd be on there first, right?
Well, so, I can tell you based on what's happening in the data, what's like, the beginning, everyone ran to grocery stores. Restaurant sales were down by almost 4 billion in the first 3 weeks.
I can only imagine.
Grocery was up that amount. And I think people have been cooking a lot because they bought all this food. But when you look at the supply chain, right, everyone's buying that center of the aisle in the grocery stores, all the packaged items, but the produce, people aren't as trustworthy, right? Because people are still touching stuff. And we're in restaurants, if it's set up properly and the brands have mobilized quickly, it's actually a more closed network.
Somewhat low touch, closed network.
Low touch, it's closed. It's, we control, we monitor our staff before they come to work. They get their temperatures taken while they're at work. And so we actually have a database of our own staff that we're monitoring to make sure that, we're able to protect what we can and keeping our staff members safe.
It's interesting. So you're not testing the staff?
No, there's no way to, but we can test for symptoms. And we can take their temperature and we can ask them. And, a lot of restaurants are doing that's part of the playbook right now. We did it right away. It was kind of there's a lot of questions around the employment laws with it, but we did it right away because we knew our staff would appreciate it and our customers and our communities would appreciate it, just to ensure people's safety.
100%. And I'll ask maybe a hard question, but hopefully it's not hard. Are all of your locations open and still serving and delivering, or are you?
So no, we have so with via Cibo, we have only 4 locations open.
Okay.
Some of the franchisees, it was their choice to decide whether they wanted to operate.
Okay.
We have for the remainder. We do have operating. For Burgers Priest, we have 2 locations that we're closed. One more of the outlying locations, so Barrie, in the north end, where we weren't doing a lot of delivery, and in Guelph, which was predominantly mostly students that have now gone home.
They're not there, right?
Yeah, and
they're all dispersed, right?
They're all back home, right? So the challenge for us is that, and it's also trying to balance employees' ability to work, and their safety, and also their willingness to work, right? So right now there's a bit of a crunch, and I think what'll happen is people will start to go back and try and find work. We're a company that we are hiring for Burgers Priest, and so what we decided to do is we consolidated those locations, especially in Toronto. We ended up closing one of our locations because we had Spadina and Queen and
they're
Adelaide.
fairly close.
Yeah, 90% of our sales are coming in through delivery. 10% are still, people walking in or calling the order in and picking it up themselves. So you're right. What you said earlier about positioning yourself to take advantage of what's happening in this massive shift. I think our brands were positioned. Really, it's based off of the real estate, where they're located and how consumers are buying in those markets. So our plan is probably open Barrie up soon again, because we think now the marketplace is looking to order food online, and they're going to be looking for options. And it was a very, very popular destination for people heading up to their cottages for sure. So
and I think, to that point about the whole having your own audience, I think a lot of people started to rely on Uber Eats and sort of that delivery model. But from what I've heard more and more, and I honestly didn't know a lot about the business model until more recently, they take a significant cut of your profit, right? So it's
25%.
Right off the top, and they're charging a fee to the user as well, right? So great business model for them, but probably not the greatest business model, where margins are not huge in the food and beverage industry, right? In the restaurant industry,
very thin.
Right? So I think having your own ability, especially with a multiple locations, to have that brand recognition and getting it out there, and then being able to do your own kind of marketing and distribution and that is probably key. Okay, so we'll kind of shift a little bit. This is we're sort of Backers is a social funding platform. We facilitate entrepreneurs raising capital, by selling equity, basically private equity in their business, to retail investors. So I'll ask the question, which a lot of people here would love to probably know and understand, is you came out of university, you got into the industry. How were you able to fund? What are some of the ways that you've used to fund the various ventures? And I'll just ask it at that. I'll leave it blanket. So
when we started, 1997 is a long time ago, and we started the first restaurant with a $25,000 investment. There was 5 partners. We each put in $5,000. And we did all the heavy lifting ourselves. We did a lot of the work. My father helped out a lot with his background in construction, and so we did it, right? We laid the tiles. We did everything we could ourselves. So we saved the money. That one restaurant, we all had full-time jobs. That one restaurant kind of helped fund the second restaurant. And
which
then
one
after
was that? Was that an Extreme Pita?
No, it was another Extreme Pita. It was the second Extreme Pita, which we would have opened. First one was in Waterloo, just across from Wilfrid Laurier. And there was one in Guelph and then Hamilton, and it kind of snowballed from there. But really predominantly the way we've been able to leverage growth, especially for individual locations or franchisees, is through the government guaranteed small business loan program.
The CSBFL?
Yeah.
And small business.
So with that, typically, you do that, especially someone who's the first time into the business. So right now, what's happening in the marketplace, it's probably a lot of people that may have lost their jobs, right? Or they think that companies are going to downsize because of this new work from home initiative. And, companies are trying to hold on to the purse string. So there's going to be a lot of, what I've found is typically in those types of scenarios during recessions where unemployment tends to go high, franchising tends to grow. People are looking to try and control their own destiny. So I would highly recommend that, anybody right now that's, maybe is an executive or people that have some money saved and they want to go into the business for themselves, franchising is a good way to do it, because you have the support and you have other franchisees that you could speak to determine whether it's right for you and whether there's some level of success, right? So, and then from that, the best level of funding would be through a government guaranteed small business loan if you're looking at franchising. Certainly, if you're looking at, if you're of a business or a business idea, of which, as a retail investor or an investor myself, I've invested into a number of different businesses that I've seen along the way directly. So, there's private investors. I'm sure that's, where you help out in, where you can try and fund some capital. It all depends on where the costs are going, right? What kind of capital do you need and where does it need to be invested in? In franchising and bricks and mortar, a lot of that investment goes into leasehold improvements and equipment and stuff like that.
CSPFL is great for that.
It's great for that. That's right. Yeah, it is. And the government guarantees 75% of the loan in the event something were to go wrong, and you're personally guaranteeing 25%. But that's a program that's worked for us over the years, and it's an easy way for people that can be able to access. I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's a way for them to be able to access capital.
Definitely, yeah. One of the things that we look at too, we work with some franchisees. We haven't worked with a lot, but a few. And so we, with our platform, giving them the ability to raise capital or get funding from the local community that are likely going to be supporting them as a business is cool. So we've actually had a couple conversations, not specifically in the food and beverage or restaurant space, but franchisees in sort of pharmacy, home care. There's a couple of different sort of franchise models out there. We're working with one of them to help them fund all their new franchisees through the use of, essentially it's called equity crowdfunding, right? So you go out, you raise $1 million from 1,000 investors at $1,000 each. And now they all own a small piece of that local franchise, which they're also then going to support, whether it's through their patronage as a client, customer, or a supplier, whatever it is, right? Within that community. So that's kind of a cool thing. I think we're trying to, and I think it's great, franchise and starting your own opportunity are a great way to secure your future sort of finances, right? Because everyone sees, right? Every major, Fortune 500 corporation is downsizing significantly, right? And so everyone's sitting there at home. I mean, my wife works for a hospital. She's working from home, but she can't go in, and she's more on the administrative side. But it's interesting. There's the whole world is dealing with this all at once. So it's interesting. The
other thing to add, just one piece to add to that on the franchising side is that, typically in these types of scenarios, there are opportunities, right? And, in our industry, there's some really good data that's stating that, 1 in 10, 2 in 10 restaurants will close permanently.
That's perfect. You gave the stat. I said that stat on about 3 days ago. I said, I heard that 1 in 10 restaurants that closed will never reopen. You just re-upped it. It's 1 in 10, 2 in 10. So that's a significant number, though.
Huge. That's crazy. It's huge. But and then there's also the unknown of how many, when we do get back to normal, how many are just going to be so cash strapped, because of what's happened, that they're going to end up closing. I expect
within 3 months they'll be gone as well, or whatever, right? Yeah.
So there's, I think there's opportunities certainly for people that are looking to get into a business that might be existing, or a franchise that might be existing. Or even, and the nice thing about this is that people with great ideas that perhaps, had a lot of momentum and they were going to do it on their own, they might use franchising as an option now to, to use other people's capital in essence to grow, right?
Other people's money.
There's lots of opportunity that's going to come. It's just a matter of identifying what it's going to be.
So okay, you kind of segued into, so where do you see the restaurant industry? Obviously COVID-19, we've kind of touched on it. It is what it is. It's happening. Everyone's involved. We're in it together. There's, I keep, maintaining everyone needs to stay positive. Leaders of the community need to step up. So entrepreneurs are somewhat leaders in the community. They need to start, voicing, communicating, and sort of saying that they're still here and that they're going to continue to kind of push through this. But what are your thoughts, and you've touched on them a little bit, on the restaurant industry specifically going forward? You've said a few things, but is there a way that you can concisely say, here's 3 things you think are going to happen coming out of this in your thought process?
I do think that, number one is, and there's lots of opportunity right now for people to try and own the digital experience. I think digital is obviously an important part of the business. It's not the most favorable in terms of the margins when you're dealing with these different companies, but if you can control the data and the customer through your own app and controlling the digital experience and driving more people to your app, then you have the ability to communicate and market to those customers. So I think number one, that's important. I think, like you said, the COVID-19 realization it's there. We know it, right? Yeah. We've gotten part of through the emergency response and everyone going into triage mode. Now it's about planning for the future. And it's proven fact that businesses, and including restaurants, people that can build trust through communication, that's an important way to market. You don't want to hit people over the head but there's a great opportunity here to really promote trust amongst your people, your employees, which are the most important customers, your community and your customers, to show them that, hey, we're looking after not just ourselves, not just our employees and our customers, but we're looking after the entire of the community and trying to do our part. And then lastly, I think that, it's important to market. Don't forget, like marketing, most people, the first thing they did is slash marketing budgets, but you have to market.
There you go. Yes.
You've got to figure out a way of continuing to communicate and market. And obviously digitally is there's a lot of data coming out right now of what's happened over the last 3 weeks. Yeah. But focusing on the digital experience, communicating with your customers, continuing to market. I think what will happen is as things go back to normal, those companies that do that will have more wind at their sails, and they'll be able to ramp up a lot faster, and their gains will be a lot faster. Yeah. Let's face it, there's online right now, you're probably your whole audience has probably been cut in half, right? In terms of, so when I say audience, I mean your competition in terms of online marketing has been cut in half, right? Think about how many restaurants have closed, not temporarily. Well, they're not spending money. Yeah. They're not going to market. Well, you know what, for people that are open, whether it's retail, restaurants, online businesses, there's an opportunity for you to spend some money now and, double down on that investment and see where things go in terms of capturing customers, because the competition online is a little less right now.
Have you watched any of my videos? Because I think you just said what I've been saying for
No, but I like you.
It's double down, not the KFC double down, but double down, right?
Be smart about it. Be smart about it, and think about where there's opportunities. And like we were doing it early, and I think at back of our minds, our timeline to investing in digital was always over a year or 2 year span. Right. Now everything's been compressed. Right. It's been like, okay, where are we at with this now? Where are we at with this? You know what I mean?
So do you guys have an app, or is that something in the works? Or?
For Burgers Priest, we do. Yeah? We've had it for a while. Okay. And
sorry, I didn't download it yet, but
that's fine. We've actually, I think in the last week alone, we added over 1,000 new downloads, and we're well over, I think, close to 22,000 members that have downloaded our app. Cool. Now we're looking at doubling that in a very, very short period of time by using incentives.
What do you? I was going to say, what are some of the things that you're doing to sort of
one of the things we're considering right now? One thing we're considering right now is the people that download our app will get $5 off their first order, and if they refer to a friend, their friend will also get $5 off their first, or they'll get an additional $5 off of their order if they refer to a friend. So we're using those incentives, and the next thing that we're going to layer on right now, I think that we're considering is loyalty. Is now adding loyalty onto the app, so it's not just ease of order. Right. And making the order experience easy. It's also about, hey, thank you for using us. And here's our loyalty program that, our plan was to launch loyalty towards the end of the year. Now we're speeding that up and saying, hey, let's make sure that these customers that are supporting us, that we're supporting them as well.
Interesting. I'll throw a little bug in we call it upselling with equity, but it's sort of the lifetime value of a customer goes up. You get some money from them, and then it inherently has a loyalty component to it, because now they're partial owners in it. But that's just that's my own pitch. Anyways, as far as I think that's cool, and I think I was going to ask what have you been doing. I think you have something you wanted to announce, that you said your podcast that you're doing, which I think the people that are watching this might be very interested in tuning in. So tell me about what that is, and go ahead.
So I think, listen, we've been on a lot of these calls, yourself and our colleagues and people, that are listening to this have all tried to gather as much information as possible, knowledge, right? Yeah. And, a good friend of mine who is someone who, I've met over the years, owns martial arts studios. He and I joined forces, and we've been talking about doing something like this where we bring our experiences in entrepreneurship to each other, talk about our stories. We both have really different stories, both very dynamic stories of how we started. So we decided, when he reached out to me years ago when my son was taking one of his classes. He knew about me and came over and introduced himself, asked me to join him for coffee. And from there, I helped him sort of mentor him through growing his business. Okay. And so I think now is a time, the podcast is called Entrepreneurs Over Coffee. We're probably launching the first two recordings or podcasts tonight or tomorrow. Okay. You'll see it on my LinkedIn. If you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll be able to hear the two podcasts. But the idea is to bring entrepreneurs together have a coffee with them and have them talk about their business. Number one, tell us their story, because I think inspiration is important now. We need to learn from people that have done things successfully in the past, because it's those traits, those characteristics that we got to draw on now when we look towards the future, right? Something's made you successful during that time. What are those characteristics? What are those traits? What are those experiences that you can draw off of those people to help you in the future for any budding entrepreneur or someone who's facing a challenge, or, you know, any entrepreneur, anybody who's considering, you know, going into business for themselves. And I think the importance here is that the more we communicate, the more we share our stories, the more we share some ideas of what you can do with your business from different industries, not just mine, manufacturing, tech,
all walks of
all
life.
across the board, right? The more we can do that, the more we can get the engine of this economy, small business, starting to churn back up again. And you know what? And it will reinvent itself. It's gonna shed a little bit, but it will reinvent itself. It's gonna pick up momentum. It's like a train. You know, it's hard to slow down, but it's also hard to speed up. It's our job to make sure that we can provide as much information and access and dialogue. So that's why we decided to launch the podcast Entrepreneurs Over Coffee. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I'd love to. If you have links or whatever, we can definitely share.
Yeah. I'll be putting it on my LinkedIn tonight.
Awesome. And that's kind of what I'm doing here. I mean, we're actually going to be launching, and I'll kind of throw this out to the audience. Don't forget, April 27th, we're launching the very first equity crowdfunding campaign on the Backers platform. And it's actually going to be Backers itself raising capital, kind of like a beta test. We just went through our whole build out process of about a year of the platform. And then we just got it sort of green lighted from the Securities Commission. So we'll be launching the very first campaign on Backers, showing everyone how it's done. And then we've got a wave of about 30 to 50 entrepreneurs that will be launching campaigns on the funding portal over the next few months. So we're pushing, and the whole idea of this conversation, Ask the Experts, is you're an expert. You've been through the business. You've been through the ringer, right? You've been there, done that, and you're continuing to do it. Sorry. So definitely appreciate that. Thank you for coming on. One last thing, I guess we'll sort of end it off with where can they reach you? You know, where are some of the apps or whatnot? Maybe some of your social media handles. And then I just want to get, what's one tip that you would give to a budding entrepreneur or somebody who's looking at getting into being an entrepreneur that you would give to them? What is one sort of piece of advice that you would impart on them?
Yeah, I think, you know what, perseverance, number one, especially in a day and age like today. And, you know, my message, I think is the same message, but more importantly today is that don't, you know, if you're in a scenario and you see all this going on and, you know, you see people around you that maybe are suffering, we will come out of this stronger. So use this opportunity to reflect on what your business plan is. Use the opportunity to listen to podcasts like this, where you're listening to people from different industries that are sharing insights, and take some of those insights, and there's a lot of them, and see, you know, do a little bit of a litmus test on your business plan and say, hey, okay, what else can I do? How else can this turn itself into? I mean, I'm doing that with some of the businesses I'm involved with right now. We're reframing, trying to reset what the future might be. And this might be a 6-month time frame, but there's going to be behaviors that are going to fundamentally change for a very, very long time. I mean, you know, the amount of people that are ordering groceries online, odds are they're going to keep doing that. The amount of people that are
pretty convenient. It comes right to your door, right?
This. So there's things that people have been maybe, you know, decided not to do in the past.
Yeah, somewhat hesitant
now they've been forced to do it. And now when you get forced to do it and you do it for an extended period of time, that creates a behavior. That behavior is created. Then you know what? So look at your business, whatever business it's in. Determine whether anything needs to be reframed to really leverage the new behavior patterns. And they're not new, but they're now becoming ubiquitous, and you know, they're just being adopted by everybody now, right?
Yeah,
it's just the early adopters.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, I was talking to Michael Hyatt a couple of days ago, former Dragons on Dragons Den. You know, he was on sort of where you are, and his thing was whatever you had January 1st, you know, your sort of business plan, your business idea, your strategy, reassess, reevaluate. Like it could be completely, you know, the pivot, you have to pivot, you know, 180, because it could be completely different. And so whatever you had planned then, you know, you need to kind of reassess, as you said. So,
and the most important, last thing I'll leave it with is sort of the same thing that my co-host on the podcast did.
What's his name?
His name is Harrison Chan.
Harrison Chan. Okay,
He owns OMAC Martial Arts, world-class martial arts. He's got 6 schools. He went from 1 to 6, and they're spectacular schools with strong after-school programs. So
cool.
The one thing that he did is he went and found somebody that he could talk to, right? That he could have conversations with and ask questions. And he and I are always going back and forth, bantering on aspects of our different businesses. And he's very focused on kids right now. So he's really working on changing his curriculum and how he's delivering his curriculum online and delivering, so there's a lot. So there's opportunity. Find somebody out there that you can talk to that can lend some advice, especially for budding entrepreneurs. My email address is alexr@craveitrg.ca. Follow me on LinkedIn. I mean, you can reach me on LinkedIn. I'm going to be posting some stuff there. And, obviously all the other brands that I mentioned, find, at the Burgers Priest, follow us. We're, there's lots of ways for you to get in touch with people. And, I'll do my best to try and answer as many questions. I think as entrepreneurs, at some level of success, it's our duty to provide as much information and contact and dialogue and help people. That are trying to get into business, because it's so important to our economy.
It is 100%, and I couldn't agree more. But Alex, I want to thank you very much. I know your time is precious. You've been on a lot of these, as you said. So continue the good work, and I'll look forward to you sending me a via Cibo lunch at some point. We'll connect
for sure.
We'll get a lunch or some one of the sandwiches.
I look forward to when we can go there and sit down at a table and I'd love to meet you there for sure.
There you go. Awesome.
Thank you for having me. It was very much appreciated.
Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it. Enjoy your day, and we'll talk again soon.